Hey, how do you know you're ready to commit to a decision? Do you have any kind of process that you go through? Or do you tend to make decisions and then figure out how to justify them to yourself and others afterwards? The reason I want to address these questions in this video is because I've noticed people I work with often arrive overwhelmed and less than excited about the change that they're trying to figure out how to make. They're often trying to work out how to play in a metaphorical sandbox that they don't actually want to be in. Maybe they've been picked up and plonked in this sandbox by someone else, or they believe it's where they ought to be because, everybody else is doing this kind of thing. Everybody else is following this path. Or they're stuck in exploration mode, overwhelmed by the number of potential options to pick from, and mildly terrified of making the wrong choice, or afraid if they commit to one option, they're basically slamming the door in the face of all other possibilities. In an article called "The Fewer Toys Children Have, the More They Play," Tracy Gillett references a study conducted by psychotherapist Claire Lerner. She was conducting research into the potential impact of excessive toys on children, and reported that children get overwhelmed and overstimulated and cannot concentrate on any one thing long enough to learn from it, so they just shut down. That too many toys means they're not learning to play imaginatively. So this is explained in part by paediatric psychologist Dr. John Riker, who points at two stages that children go through when they receive a new toy. Exploration followed by play. And so during exploration mode, a child asks, "What does this toy do?" And then in play mode, a child asks, "What can I do with this toy?" So during that kind of play mode, creativity, imagination, initiative, flexibility, adaptability all come to the fore. They all flourish in that child. When children are then confronted by too many toys, they spend more time exploring and less time playing. Does that sound familiar? We live in a world of abundant stuff, don't we? Options abound when it comes to almost every object, tool, device that we can imagine. And I wonder whether it's worth just taking a moment to think about where you sit in relation to those positions. Are you in exploration mode, sort of bouncing around, looking at everything around you, maybe getting overwhelmed by all the potential options? Perhaps you're afraid of settling on something. Or maybe it's time to explore again, to bring some new possibilities to the table. Maybe you've been playing with the same object for a long time and you've reached your capacity with it. So you're starting to realise, it might not be a bad idea to actually explore some new options. How do you do that without getting completely overwhelmed by those options? Exploration mode is key for opening ourselves up to the possibilities, allowing ourselves to see beyond the horizons of past experiences, past objects, past choices, and noticing the world outside of our preconceptions, our well-worn patterns, and the existing frameworks that we carry. We might be able to think about these two sides of the coin as collecting intelligence versus gathering evidence. So crime documentaries often highlight poor investigative work that's done by law enforcement who, make up their mind about what happened and who committed the crime before they actually do any intelligence gathering. There are some cases where key evidence is overlooked because it doesn't fit the narrative that the investigator has settled on from the outset. That's why it often seems absurd, doesn't it, when you get to sort of watch a case being revealed through a documentary in a very formulaic way. How can they not see this key piece of evidence that's pointing elsewhere? Well, because they're not looking for it. And why aren't they looking? Because it's unnecessary evidence when it comes to supporting the story that they've already decided is true before they've finished gathering the intelligence, or before they've started gathering the intelligence a lot of the time. While it is sometimes a deliberate effort to cover up the truth or conceal a conspiracy, most of the time this is just a symptom of something very human. Something that we all do, taking shortcuts, making assumptions, shutting off our senses to other possibilities and avenues of inquiry. It's always the partner. Shortcuts might be statistically true and probably play out in anecdotal evidence over a long career, but just because something is more likely, it doesn't make it true right now. The TV show American Nightmare, which recounts the horrific ordeal of Denise Huskins, who in 2015 was kidnapped and taken in the middle of the night by an intruder, demonstrates this perfectly. Her boyfriend Aaron was questioned by the police, who, rather than taking him at his word as part of the intelligence gathering process that could then lead to Denise's whereabouts potentially and save her from the brutality of the abuse that she suffered in the meantime, chose to interrogate him to draw out a confession for her murder, with absolutely nothing to support that hypothesis. When Denise later reappeared, the narrative quickly changed to accusations that, she's faked this kidnapping in the recreation of the plot of the movie Gone Girl. Again, rather than believing what she had to say, the police had already decided the truth and went about trying to force the evidence to fit it and ignore anything that didn't. So during intelligence mode, we might ask, what do I want to find out here? What don't I know yet? Who could I talk to? What would I want to ask them? Where can I go to learn more? How will I know when I've got the information that I need? What is going to help me understand this situation better? In other words, the possibilities aren't endless. The gathering has a purpose, but there are no conclusions to be drawn yet. A hunch or a hypothesis will begin to form as you investigate and eventually come to a decision about the best way forward from where you are with what you have. And so evidence mode is about organising and supporting data and gathering anything that isn't there yet. What tells me my hypothesis is true? What do I have to support that? What else do I need? In intelligence gathering mode, we're kind of building a picture for ourselves. We're seeing what is out there, getting a sense of how things work around here. We neither trust nor distrust things. We just observe them. We notice, we record, holding ideas up to the light of our greater objective, that quest that we're on to find something out, to pick something, to get answers. And then over time, the picture comes into focus and we begin to have the data and information necessary to make a decision. And that decision is underpinned by a tangible purpose that matters to us or the job that we're doing. One of the reasons we often end up on paths that don't feel right, they don't fit who we are or what we would want to choose to be doing, is because we don't know why we are looking. Someone told us that this is what we ought to do, so we jumped right into it. Marketing messages that cue a bit of fear of missing out inside us, leave us making quick decisions and trying to find evidence to support those decisions for fear of feeling like a chump for spending money on something we don't need, something we don't care about, something that we don't even believe in afterwards. It's easy to lose ourselves in the noise of everyday life. Maybe we have a sense that something isn't right. We're dissatisfied with an aspect of life, frustrated with work, empty in our relationships. And a charismatic salesperson comes along with a shiny object, a product or a course or a lifestyle or whatever, and it seems like the answer. Why? Because we don't know what the question is. And this is all novel and shiny and exciting. We can't see beneath the facade, so it comes across as the solution to our unarticulated problem because it evokes this vague feeling of, this feels right within us. But what if the dissatisfaction was actually an invitation to formulate a question for ourselves? What would be the right question that could lead us into a meaningful time of exploration? What aspect of life, what project, relationship, feeling is calling out for us to make a decision regarding its future? Are we ready to start investigating it, gathering the intelligence, holding what we find without judging it, without falling for it or rejecting it? What if you didn't need to make a decision just yet? What would that make possible? Drop me a comment below if any of this resonates with you. Any questions that come out of this for you that you'd like me to maybe cover in a future video. Speaking of which, hit like and subscribe if you want to be notified when I publish more videos like this one.